The art director's debrief, the brutal economics of Pride and Prejudice. Hello and welcome back to the Emotive archive. For weeks we have journeyed together through the world of Pride and Prejudice. We have followed the witty banter, the quiet heartbreaks, the dramatic confrontations, and the slow, beautiful blossoming of love. But today we will do something radical. We will strip away the romance. We will set aside the poetry. For this final two-part analysis, we will begin by reading this novel not as one of the greatest love stories ever written, but as one of the most brilliant and brutal simulations of economic survival ever written. Today, we are not critics of literature. We are analysts of a market. Welcome to the ruthless, high-stakes, and deeply unsentimental marriage market of the English Regency. To understand this world, we must first understand its fundamental unwritten laws. This is a world governed by patriarchal structures, where a woman's value and her very survival are almost entirely dependent on the man she marries. The engine driving the entire plot is a single, cold legal term, the entail. The Longbourn estate, the Bennet family home and primary source of income, is entailed away from the female line. Upon Mr. Bennet's death, his 5 daughters will be homeless and almost penniless. This is not a minor inconvenience. It is a ticking clock, a countdown to social and financial oblivion. Every curtsy, every dance, every conversation is therefore not just a social nicety, it is a move in a desperate game of economic chess. Mrs. Bennet, for all her foolishness and lack of decorum, is not just a comical character. She is a frantic, terrified market player, trying to liquidate her assets, her daughters, before the market crashes. In this analysis, we will deconstruct this market. We will assess the value of the assets, profile the investors, and analyze the key transactions that determine who wins and who loses in this unforgiving game. Let us begin with the assets offered from the Longbourn portfolio, the 5 Bennet sisters. Each represents a different kind of asset with varying levels of value and risk. They are the products being brought to market. At the top of the portfolio, we have Jane Bennet. Her primary capital is her extraordinary beauty and her serene, gentle temperament. In the Regency market, beauty is a high-value liquid asset. It generates immediate interest and attracts high-capital investors, as we see with Mr. Bingley. However, Jane's asset profile has significant liabilities. Her dowry is negligible, and her family connections are, as Darcy later points out, inferior. She is a high-potential but high-risk investment, a beautiful painting in a cheap, unreliable frame. Her value is almost entirely aesthetic, and as the novel shows, aesthetic value is incredibly vulnerable to market sentiment and the influence of more powerful players. Then we have our protagonist, Elizabeth Bennet. Her primary asset is not beauty, though she is handsome, but her intelligence and wit. In a market that prizes docility and accomplishments designed to please, Elizabeth's wit is a volatile, almost speculative asset. To a discerning investor like Darcy, it is rare and incredibly valuable. To a standard investor like Mr. Collins, it is confusing and undesirable. Her lack of fortune is a major liability, and her propensity for sharp judgments make her a high-risk, high-reward prospect. She is a niche, avant-garde piece of art. The right collector will see her immense value, but most will walk right past, unable to comprehend her worth. She refuses to be priced according to market standards, which makes her a dangerous player. The 3 younger sisters represent the lower tier, almost junk-rated assets of the Bennet portfolio. Mary Bennet attempts to build value through accomplishments, playing the piano, reading, but her lack of taste and social awareness results in a performance that actively devalues the family brand, as seen at the Netherfield ball. She is a poorly executed replica, all form and no substance. Kitty and Livia are a paired liability. Their value is tied to their youth and high spirits, but their behavior is unregulated, their pursuits are frivolous, and their lack of decorum is a constant threat to the family's reputation. Lydia, in particular, is the most volatile asset. Her obsession with the militia officers is a high-risk gamble that, as we know, leads to a catastrophic market crash, threatening to bankrupt the entire family's social standing. Her elopement is the ultimate bad investment, a total loss of principal that requires a massive external bailout to prevent complete ruin. Now, let us turn to the investors, the men who hold the capital and the power in this market. Mr. Bingley is the new enthusiastic investor. He possesses immense capital, a fortune of £5,000 a year, and a desirable property at Netherfield. However, he lacks experience and conviction. He is easily swayed by the advice of his partners, Darcy and his sisters. His initial investment in Jane is based on pure aesthetic attraction, a bullish move. But when the market advisors, Darcy, warn him of the asset's underlying weaknesses, the family connections, he panics and divests immediately. He is a good-natured but weak player, driven by market sentiment rather than his own analysis. Mr. Darcy is the blue-chip investor, the market titan. With £10,000 a year and the vast social capital of the Pemberley estate, he is the most valuable player in the game. He is discerning, risk-averse, and operates on an entirely different level. His initial assessment of the Meryton market is one of disdain. He sees nothing worth acquiring. His dismissal of Elizabeth is a cold initial stock valuation, tolerable but not valuable enough to tempt him. However, upon closer inspection, he begins to see the unique value in her fine eyes, a metaphor for her intelligence and spirit. He becomes intrigued by this high-risk, high-reward asset. His first proposal is a perfect analogy for a corporate takeover. He states his intention to acquire her, but he makes it clear that he is doing so despite her low market cap and toxic associated assets, her family. He fully expects his offer to be accepted due to his own immense value. Then there is Mr. Collins, the ultimate pragmatist. He is not an emotional investor. He is a fund manager looking to fill a portfolio requirement set by his patroness, Lady Catherine. He needs a wife, any wife, to complete the picture of a respectable clergyman. His approach is a clinical, ABC analysis of the benefits to himself. He first targets Jane, the highest value asset. When told she is off the market, he pivots instantly to the next available asset, Elizabeth, with zero emotional friction. The asset itself is interchangeable, only the fulfillment of the requirement matters. His proposal is not a declaration of love, but the reading of a prospectus. He is offering a stable, if low-yield, return, a comfortable home in exchange for total subservience. Finally, we have Mr. Wickham, the fraudulent actor in this market. He has no real capital. His assets are entirely superficial, a handsome face, a charming demeanor, and a masterful fabricated narrative of victimhood. He is a scammer running a Ponzi scheme of charm. He initially targets Elizabeth, sensing her intellectual and emotional availability. But the moment a more profitable asset appears, Miss King, with her newfound £10,000, he immediately abandons his position and pursues the more lucrative deal. He operates on pure, cynical economic opportunism, seeking to merge with any asset that can provide him with the capital he lacks. He is the dark side of the marriage market, where all pretense of affection is stripped away, leaving only the raw calculus of greed. With the players and assets defined, let's analyze the key transactions of the novel through this cold economic lens. The first major transaction is, of course, the Collins-Lucas merger. Elizabeth's rejection of Mr. Collins was an emotional, idealistic decision. She refused a secure, if unappealing, investment in favor of holding out for a higher, more emotionally fulfilling return. Charlotte Lucas, on the other hand, performs a brilliant act of strategic business. As an asset of 27 with declining market value, she sees the Collins offer not as a romantic failure, but as a friendly takeover that saves her from total market obsolescence, i.e. spinsterhood. She candidly explains her strategy to Elizabeth. She is trading happiness, which she sees as a matter of chance, for security, which is a tangible asset. Her marriage is the most successful business transaction in the entire novel. It is a loveless but perfectly rational merger that achieves the stated goals of both parties. The second and most catastrophic transaction is the Lydia Wickham elopement. This is not a merger, it is a hostile takeover that goes drastically wrong. Lydia, an impulsive and naive asset, gives herself away for nothing but a promise. Wickham, the fraudulent actor, acquires her with no intention of making a long-term investment. This action creates a massive scandal that threatens to devalue the entire Bennet portfolio permanently. No respectable investor would want to be associated with a brand tainted by such disgrace. This is a moment of crisis that requires a market intervention, a bailout. And the bailout comes from the most unlikely source. Mr. Darcy, the blue-chip investor, secretly steps in. We learn from Mrs. Gardner's letter the full extent of this financial rescue package. He pays off Wickham's massive debts. He purchases Wickham a new commission in the army, and he provides the capital necessary to finalize the merger, that is, to force Wickham to marry Lydia. In modern terms, Darcy's intervention costs him over £10,000. He injects a huge amount of his own capital to fix a market failure in a company he has no stake in, all to save the reputation of one particular asset within that company, Elizabeth. This is not a business decision. It is an act of profound, almost irrational emotional investment that defies all market logic. He performs this act in secret, seeking no credit, no return on investment. This secret act is the final piece of data that allows Elizabeth to re-evaluate her entire analysis. She had judged Darcy based on his public performance, his pride, his coldness, his words. She now has access to his private ledger, which shows an act of immense hidden generosity. Her prejudice, which was based on a compelling but false narrative from Wickham and her own limited observations, is shattered by this irrefutable financial data. She realizes she has misjudged the market completely. The asset she thought was overvalued and arrogant was in fact the most valuable and honorable player in the game. When Darcy and Bingley return to Netherfield, the market conditions have changed entirely. Jane's value is restored by Bingley's renewed interest, and Elizabeth, now understanding Darcy's true worth, is ready for a new negotiation, one based not on pride or prejudice, but on a clear-eyed assessment of mutual value, both emotional and intellectual. The stage is set for the final, most important merger, one that promises not just security, but that rarest of all commodities, happiness. In the second part of our analysis, we will put the romance back into the equation and explore the psychological journey that makes this final union possible. Thank you for joining the debrief.